AskReddit. AskReddit. What was something you saw you were definitely not supposed to see? I was about 8 or 9 and my parents were going to be out of town, so they had me and siblings stay with a family from our church. Once we got to the house, which was really nice by the way, they had one rule: you can play wherever you want, but the basement is off limits. Me being the little bastard that I was, snuck down there first chance I got and was supremely disappointed to only find rows and rows of plants growing under lights. I was driving from West Berlin to West Germany in the late 1980s. My BF gives me wrong instructions, so I have to take an exit off the autobahn to turn back and get back to the correct exit. On the small country road on which we found ourselves, we see a large truck with a missile on it, surrounded by Russian soldiers. They were as surprised as we were, but just laughed and waved at us as we got the hell out of there as quickly as possible. When I was in college I worked at an arcade/mini-golf joint that seemed to give zero F's about actually making money, but was never in any kind of financial trouble. When I got hired, the owner literally said I pay minimum wage and I expect to get minimum work for it. I worked the front counter and collected money for the mini-golf and sold cups of coins, or you could just use the coin changer. The till was completely busted and would be off by $50 or more in either direction, no matter what you did. I realized very quickly that I could just pretend to ring up golf fees and cups of tokens and pocket the cash, so I'd pocket $30 to $40 every shift, and nobody seemed to give a crap. One of the assistant managers let me take a break 20 minutes after I'd just taken a break because some of my friends had shown up and wanted to smoke a bowl with me. He was like, "That is totally more important than your job." It was awesome. Then one day I walked into the owner's office while his secretary was recording figures in the ledger. I can read upside down pretty well, and it was very obvious that the figures she was recording had freak all to do with the business we were doing. We sold maybe $60 of golf fees a night and maybe $100 in coin cups, but she was recording $600 and $1,000 for each. I commented on the discrepancy and quipped about how someone would think we were in the laundry business, and she got really squirrely and told me to leave the office. The next day the owner called me into his office and we had a very circumspect conversation about how much I was enjoying working there and enjoying the perks of the job, and I very much got the sense that he was trying to decide if I was going to tell anyone anything. Apparently he decided I wasn't, and I wasn't, and so I kept working there. About a year later the owner was arrested for money laundering and we all got fired. Still the best job I ever had. The mob is an A+ employer, would work in fake business again. I used to do a little work after school at a local comic shop. One day after school I was bagging comics when the owner's buddy came in. "Look at these." Came out great. He had a stack of glossy amateur pro featuring the shop owner, his buddy, and the owner's wife making sweet love. He laid them out all over the counter and they started pouring through the stack excitedly. From what I could see it looked like the three of them enjoyed one another's company equally and vigorously. Then they noticed I was there. I got sent home early with a stack of free comics. Not me, but a coworker several months before I started at the company. Big boss man comes back from a site visit/weekend at his cabin not too far from site. Has someone burn all photos from his camera to a CD and makes a couple of copies. One copy is with my coworker and another guy looking at photos from site. Suddenly the photos of the site trip ends and there are topless photos of Big Boss Man's wife at their cabin on the disc. But wait, there's a twist. Another copy of the same set of photos was currently in the boardroom PC, where Big Boss Man is showing photos to the client. My coworker doesn't know what to do, tells our lead administrative assistant. She confidently marches into the boardroom and ejects the disc, interrupting the meeting. Big Boss Man asks, "What are you doing?" She simply says, "There's a problem with the disc," and leaves. When I was 8 or so, my old nanny/babysitter, choose which you prefer, was showing me a video of her time with her boyfriend in Paris. After it blacks out for a few seconds, it then suddenly cuts to her lying on her hotel bed completely naked, legs spread, telling her boyfriend to come get it. She jumped out of her seat, tried to cover my eyes, and told me to never tell anyone. I have now told potentially thousands of random strangers. I was working the night shift doing post-production on a well-known reality show. I walked into the men's room and found our lady boss bent over the sink getting effed by one of the other night guys. They both looked up. We made eye contact in the mirror, and I closed the door without a word. I never brought it up, but she gave me the next night off for all your hard work. Went to a co-worker's house to help get the scanner to work, which hasn't worked since her daughter had tried to use it a few days earlier. I tried to load the software, which would hang while trying to connect to the scanner. A quick power cycle of the scanner, and the software loaded. The software defaulted to the recent scan screen. The most recent scan was the genitalia of my co-worker, her daughter, or I suppose it could have been a page from her XXX magazine. That just happened to be exactly what you'd see if you were squatting over a scanner. My hotkey skills were fast, so I may have Alt plus F4 before she saw what I did, but once that software worked, I used a different program to perform a test scan. Easy, but uncomfortable way to earn $20. My dad once handed me his tablet and suggested I look at an ebook or something while we were sitting around in a theater waiting for a play to start. I don't know if I misunderstood him or what, because when I brought up his Amazon Reader app, I saw that the last book he had been reading was How to Deal with a Exless Marriage or something along those lines. Dad was very embarrassed, quickly took the tablet back, and we did not speak of what had just transpired. Another time, Dad handed me his phone and asked me to look up something for him while we were sitting around the living room at a family get-together. When I opened his browser app, the last page open was prone. The video began auto-playing, and I frantically tried to figure out how to close a tab, but all I really managed to do was look at the video for far longer than I wanted to, so I shoved the phone back at my dad and said, "You need to close the tab, I can't figure out how, I'm sorry," and we once again did not speak of what had just transpired. There were also another couple of times where I went to use his computer and there was either a bunch of prone open in his browser or some kind of prone in the CD tray. Dad is a bit absent-minded. When I was 14, a friend hosted a birthday party at his house with all the parents invited. Needed to use the restroom, but the main one was occupied, so my friend told me I can use the one in his mom's bedroom. As I walked up to the door, I could hear somebody in there, so I decided to wait until whoever was in there was finished. A good 10 minutes later, my friend's mom, who was hosting the party, and another good friend's stepfather walk out and see me standing there all confused. They asked what I was doing there, and I just said I was waiting to use the bathroom. Surprisingly, they played it cool and just said I can use it now and walked off. When I started a new job, someone had left a bunch of our files on the computer I was given. I opened one up, not sure what it was, and I got to see every employee's salary in the company, even the CEO. The next day, it was gone. My boss realized his mistake and logged into my system and deleted the files. It was a memorable experience. Our cat was a little late coming home one evening, unusual for him. I went looking for him, calling his name, not massively loudly as it was late at night in a built-up area. As I walked around a corner to a car park, there he was. He looked like he was just having a bit of a chat with a fox. They looked relaxed, facing each other, sitting and chilling out. I called his name and he looked at me, seemed flustered, looked back at the fox, then me, almost as if he was saying he's not with me, I don't know him. I called him again, and he chased the fox into the bushes before trotting over to me. I'm sure I crossed an animal line. I worked at FedEx Express when I was getting my bachelor's degree. Was one of the first people there every morning, since I was a handler and would help unload our giant metal cans off of a semi. Each can was stuffed full of packages. Well, I would set up a scanner in order to scan damaged packages so our station wouldn't get charged for it since it was damaged before it arrived. One morning, my manager, who was an alcoholic and a pillhead, had me scan these large bags going to the VA, said it was in case shit was missing. These bags were closed with a velcro strap around the top, so they weren't very secured. These giant bags were full of pills and it never occurred to me that anything was wrong. Well, one morning I arrived a little earlier than normal and was setting stuff up when I heard a tearing sound. It was velcro coming apart. I didn't think anything about it and kept working. After about 5 minutes I heard a thud and looked up to see that manager come around the corner of the can and place a VA bag back onto the ground and walk off. He didn't notice I was there since I was in between two trucks in the warehouse. After seeing that, it made sense why he wanted me to scan the bags now. The fuckers and had been stealing pain medication out of the veterans hospital's bags and using them for his own addiction. I brought it up to a coworker that had worked there forever, in which she told me to just ignore it unless I had hard evidence like a video or actually see him digging in the bag. If I had anything less and accused him of it, I'd surely be fired, since HR gave zero craps about its employees and only protected the managers. My 6-year-old cousin asked me if I wanted some chewing gum. I said sure, if she has some. She then goes to her mother's purse and takes out 2 packages of condoms and asks me, "What do you want? Strawberries or banana?" Next thing I know, I'm shoving Durex packages in her mother's purse, saying we should firstly ask your mom before going through her things. So the kid doesn't stop here. She takes the purse, goes in the kitchen where all the family was reunited, and asked her mother, "Mom, can I have some gum?" Her mom says she doesn't have any. The freaking girl takes the condoms out of the purse and says, "Sure you do. I want the strawberries ones please." Imagine her mother's embarrassment. One Christmas Eve I couldn't sleep at all, so I went to the kitchen to get some water or something, and out in the living room were my parents setting out presents and eating the cookies I had left out. They said that Santa was running late and was in such a big hurry that he just dropped off the presents and asked them to put them out for him. I have a similar experience where my mom refused to admit that Santa wasn't real. She had made the to and from labels on her computer to avoid us comparing Santa's handwriting to hers, but she accidentally left the program up when we came down the next morning. She insisted that Santa had used her computer. As a middle schooler, I picked up a book at the library, flipped through the pages, and found an application for a replacement birth certificate for some old man. It had every detail about his personal identification on it, so naturally I took it home thinking, I'll just hold on to this in case I ever need to assume a fake identity by pretending to be an 80-year-old man and flee the country. My mom found it and had to explain to me that no, we don't steal people's identities. I used to work nights at a manufacturing plant. I went to the bathroom one night, picked out my favorite stall, and sat on the toilet to spend the next 10 minutes contemplating life. After a few minutes, a male janitor walked in and started cleaning the bathroom. Another minute later, another male janitor came in to help. They were talking to each other in Spanish and then started kissing near the sinks, not realizing anyone was in the bathroom. I just sat there silently for a while, not knowing what to do. After another minute or two of heavy kissing between the two, I decided to make a few noises so that they knew they weren't alone. My toilet seat creaked when I moved. They both stopped their romance session, looked at my stall, giggled, and ran out of the bathroom, leaving all of their cleaning stuff behind. I quickly cleaned up, flushed, and ran out. I actually never saw those same janitors again. I was helping mother-in-law cleaning out her closet. All was jokes and laughter until I pull out an unopened massive dildo. We were both paralyzed for a moment before she slowly took it out of my hands and mumbled something about the dildo not being what she thought it would be like and that she ordered it online. She then backed out of the room and threw it in a cupboard. We then proceeded to clean the rest of the closet. I desperately wanted to tell SO about this awkward event, but decided to spare him. When I was about 5, my mom took me to the bank because she needed something out of the safety deposit box. It was right when they were opening up. They asked us to turn around while they unlocked the vault, but I peeked. According to family law, I went around the rest of the day chanting the numbers of the combination.